No tagiona kindu kiega.
Yeah, you can do that. ID number.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Money through, is it called M-Pesa? Your mobile money transfer in Kenya.
Ay, kia kugania. Kogo ndukayudigo kuhinyereria.
Nyireke kuire.
Ndigigire ugo data on manike.
Yere muhake. Na ndege itoika ni kuya moya kana mundu kuoraga.
Na mimi sijui kuhusu hiyo pesa.
Wina maduni.
Greetings, it's VP. Hii ni mtaani dosage. With me your host Adismu, aka mwalimu wa mtaani. Na kwenye hii segment tutakuwa tukikuletea darasa kwenye streets. Nani alisaidia Yesu kubeba msalaba?
Muskariote. Judas Muskariote.
Inakukujia hasa pa GTN TV kila saa 7:30 PM na 9:30 PM.
Tendawili.
Yasa pa GTN TV, the home of gifts and talent, kila Saturday 7:30 PM na 9:30 PM.
Hallucination neo hiki.
My lord.
Utakosa kweli.
No!
Common sense inakuwa ngapi?
Billy.
Hey, Chineke.
Twende darasa.
Yes, a very warm evening and thank you so much for tuning in to the Medicamp Health Show. This is GTN TV, the home of gifts and talents. My name is Alice Mumbi. Now today we are going to be talking about drugs and substance abuse. If you're keen enough, you might have noticed that the country, the government, everyone is all about fighting drugs and substance abuse. And you might wonder why. Maybe it's because of the health complications that you pose yourself to every time you abuse a drug, every time you take alcohol, every time you smoke cigarette or weed, which is actually illegal. Now today in studio, I have Madam Christine. I also have Mr. Edwin. We're going to be helping me tackle this topic. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Okay.
Karibu sana. So we are going to start with Madam Christine, who is a familiar face for most of you. She's going to be introducing herself, and then later we'll have Mr. Edwin, who is going to share with us his recovery journey and what addiction is, what it feels like, and yes, that you can be able to battle addiction. Thank you so much. Karibu.
Asante Mumbi. Good evening, viewers. It's another good time that I'm here. We have a conversation on the drugs and especially what is happening in our country and globally. My name is Christine Githinji, a psychiatric nurse working at Udaya Level 4. And I'm humbled to be here. This is my third time. And I believe whatever the conversation and the content that we're going to share with you viewers, it's going to help us change the way we think, the way we do our things on our day-to-day life, and we'll be better people in future. So thank you so much, Mumbi.
Thank you so much, and thank you for making time for us. We love you so much here at Medicamp. Yes, and for Mr. Edwin, who is joining us for the very first time, Karibu sana, introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you so much to the viewers of GTN, the home of gifts and talents. I'm here, I've listened to some shows presented by Madam Christine about mental health. For me, I'm Edwin Githinji Moneki. I'm a health worker, public health officer working in Mokoroini, and I'm also a recovering alcoholic.
Thank you so much. That is quite a beautiful journey that you're going to be sharing with us step by step in today's episode. So mostly we talk about drug and substance abuse, and someone might wonder, are they really the same? Is there a difference between a drug and a substance, even before we get to learn what is abuse of the same? So Madam Christine, is there a difference between drug and substance?
Thank you, Mumbi. We'll start with the drug. And I saw drugs and substance sometimes is being interchanged. But before then, we can start with the drug. What is a drug? And we remember at the back of our mind when we are talking about the drug and the substance, we should not forget that we have the drugs that are being prescribed and the drugs that are being used in the streets. So when you say a drug is a substance that can be used, but it can alter your body function, that is the way you behave and the way you think. So these two, you cannot be able to separate them. But for the substance, there is the element of the psychoactive part of it. When it gets to the body, what does it do? Does it change the way you think? Does it change your neurotransmitters or the chemicals that you have in the brain? So these are two things that we are going to talk about. And we should remember, we have the legal drugs and we have illegal drugs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that is, it's more like all the same, but you've really put it out well that there is a slight difference. So we want to talk about drug and substance abuse, which now we understand what is drug and substance. But now, Mr. Edwin, what is abuse? You know, some of the most commonly abused in our country, or what is very commonly used, is alcohol, there is cigarettes, and amongst our youth, and of course, even adults, there is weed. So what is abuse? And for alcohol, they talk of taking it in moderation. So what is moderation when you're taking drugs, and at what point can we say, now, this is abuse?
Yes, thank you. I would like even to pick from where Christian was explaining about drugs and substance. I would like to give an example that maybe we can talk about a glass of water. Water is a substance, but it's not a drug. As she explained that a drug alters, and maybe when it is abused, it brings maybe disadvantages to the user. So what happens when you abuse drugs is that a drug is supposed to bring positive effect to the human, but when now it starts doing or causing negative effects into the human body, then it is either being misused, and if the user is also taking without the prescription, then that person is abusing the drug. And maybe what we have commonly in our society, we have drugs that maybe we have the legal drugs, like we have alcohol, we have cigarettes, and we also have prescription drugs. Like when you go to the hospital and you're given some, for example, antihistamines, you're given to treat an allergy. But when you take that antihistamine to maybe to control or to induce sleep, you're abusing that drug. And this is what maybe we are doing as a society. When you go over the counter to get drugs to treat yourself, that is the way we are abusing drugs. Then we find ourselves that from where we started long ago with the drugs that you have mentioned about tobacco and tobacco products, in our time early, we used to have tobacco either being done manually from the local leaves, dried leaves, and people will make cigarettes locally either through the newspapers or other paper cuttings, or others would buy cigarettes. We have also pipes. We also have people who eat or chew the tobacco, sniffing also the tobacco. And now in our new times today, we're having people using vape. And vape is even more dangerous because other than also affecting the lungs, depending on the kind of ingestion or method of taking that tobacco, we have it going into fumes, and it goes directly either to the membranes of the mouth and also inhaled going to the lungs. And because of the heated fumes, it is also affecting the lungs, bringing some issues of congestion and emphysema. So we have the rate of abusing drugs is also changing. You know, like our times when we used to be small, smoking, you'd one of the parents would, or even the adults would know that there is somebody smoking. But now you can imagine that you are there in the same house, your kid or that young child is using vape, and because it has been blended with other flavors, like maybe cinnamon, we have whatever kind of flavors, strawberry and vanilla. So it's very, very easy for you to see a child, or even in class, somebody holding up a glass of yogurt, vanilla, but the person is connecting a vape. It might be a pen connected to either the laptop or even connected to the charger or power bank, and it is emitting some fumes. So I think things are changing for people to try and understand. And actually it is really, really seeming as if it is a cool thing to the young people. So it is also bringing a lot of marketing strategies to the people who are producing. They make money, but on the other side, our nation, we are losing our children into the drugs and substances. So basically that is how the issue of tobacco and maybe even other products, because like for the issue of vape these days or the e-cigarette, you can blend with anything. You have your nicotine in that vape, which has got a refill. We also have, you can put tobacco, bang, whatever kind of drug that you can use. So our people are now more prone to getting maybe the marketing gimmicks of today, and maybe coming to get hooked, because when they start the first maybe puff or sniff, then they will move on to come and have the dependency of whatever drug or substance that person has been initiated. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that piece of information. And it is quite sad that our generation thinks that it is cool to do these drugs. In fact, for someone who is not abusing in campus or wherever, they could be taken for Chanuka or something like that, which is quite sad. Now, about alcohol, you've talked to us about tobacco and other substances, but when it comes to alcohol, sometimes even the government, when they are fighting alcohol abuse, they talk about first and second generation, and then they talk about when you're taking alcohol, take it in moderation. Now, that moderation, if we could help our viewers understand, what is moderation, especially when it comes to taking alcohol? Madam Christine.
Thank you so much, Mumbi. When you talk about the taking of alcohol, in a normal circumstance, in a normal male, say a man, he's not supposed to take more than 2 bottles. And that is the brown bottles, the first generation that we know. And for a woman, it's only 1 bottle. But what is happening in the society today? They will take 1 and they are not satisfied, they will go for the second one and the third one. So in a normal circumstance, if you are to gauge how many bottles that you're supposed to get as a man, you're not supposed to exceed 5 bottles in a week. But you'll get these men, when they sit, they take more than 5 bottles. Meaning, one sitting, they have already consumed the whole week consumption. So there are those who can be able to manage that. And there are those who cannot be able to manage. And that's now where the Mr. Edwin is coming in. Because there is the part, when you start drinking, there is always the urge. So maybe at the beginning you took 1 and gave you the effect. You come the second time, you take the second bottle. You didn't get the effect that you were looking for. So you go for the second bottle, and then you realize you're not getting the effect. There is the feeling they normally get. So they go for the third one and the fourth one. So as you continue, you'll end up using more alcohol than intended. So, and then there is the word that we normally use. There is the binge drinking. The binge drinking, it's somebody who can take like 20 bottles at a sitting. So with the moderation, we are supposed to enlighten our society, and we tell them, for you to take an alcohol, if you are a man, just take 2 bottles. And don't exceed 5 bottles in a week. So if you are ready, please just take 1 brown bottle. Yes.
Thank you so much. And yet, like you've explained, people get all the way from taking the 5 in a week to a lot more, which brings us to addiction. And Mr. Edwin, you shared that you are actually using 5 different types of drugs, among them alcohol. Maybe you could share with us your experience with alcohol. How did you start and how did it get to addiction?
Thank you so much, Mumbi. I started when I was a small boy, actually at the age of 10 years. The brother to my dad actually was brewing alcohol Moratina at his home. So I would really love to go visit him over the holidays because there were no rules getting close to alcohol or even maybe going to even scoop some drink for him. So I would enjoy, and especially during the time or the time of the processing of the Moratina, in the initial day of preparation, it was sweet. So during that time, I would drink and I'll feel it's a sweet drink, sweetened drink. So, and because it was colored, it was sweet. So, but when I progressed, I'll understand, and there is a time I'll go maybe to scoop some drink for him, and maybe it was already ready for drinking. So that small effect, and you know, in the tongue we have taste buds. And that is why you see, like in small children, when you put some sugar in porridge, you initiate sugar in porridge to a little kid, maybe 4 months. And then after 2-3 days, you withdraw the sugar. That child gets a tendency of even hitting the cup of uji, because this drug or this sweetness has already been registered and accepted by the taste buds. So that is the same thing that happened during this time of trying to go and scoop and bring, serve the elderly people who are there. And having to taste that, I came now to have a relationship, a good relationship with the drink. And that was in normal school holidays. Come Christmas, we used to have people coming from wherever when they come for holidays. And after consuming this local brew, people would now maybe organize to have bottled drink coming home. And also there, I tried to take from the leftovers. So I came to have an experience from the drink. Now from the local brew, I shifted to the drinking. So there come a time, even the elderly people, when the grown up, when they get drunk, they will tell me, come and drink this one. These are drink for the old people, okay? And actually, the analogy then is that when I will make a sip without spitting, they will even praise me. And in fact, it happened that even when I will do the small glass, when I say, this young man is a great drinker, and people will try to celebrate me for the wrong thing. And so, because I wanted to also gain that recognition, I put more effort. And this is what happened. As much as putting much effort to learn and to take the drink, so I believe I became a champion in drinking. And this happened that even when I was going to secondary school, because at 10, 12 years I was in primary school. Then when I came to secondary school, I had already now started doing the drink. I would even pick the cigarette butts, which were dropped. When it was dropped, I would pick it up and run, go smoke, cough. And then at a time, I would even manage to smoke, because we are even being sent to the shops to go for cigarettes for the people who are drinking here. So I got the experience. Now I've gone to secondary school, whereby you're now getting pocket money at that age. And there is, because I've initiated in cigarette smoking and drinking, I have gone through initiation. Now that one puts you in a position that now you even have money in your pocket. So it gave me another command that I need to experience that level, that now I've graduated from that boyhood now to a young man. And I would even send the old people to go purchase, because I would really work out to look for resources, look for my aunties, write them sweet letters, talk to them when they come visiting. Hi, auntie, why don't you give me something? I want to buy a shoe. I want to, you know. So I used to have money when we were getting back to school. Again, my parents were staying separate because of their nature of work. So I would write a letter to my mom that we are going for an imaginary trip for music festival, and I'll write the same to my dad. We are going for a trip, so I'll get double money. So I used to have money, and I'll send the big guys and go get me a drink, and then you share. Go get me. In secondary school, I started my bank there, because there is a tendency that when you move from one drug, there is a tendency of trying to move to the other level, because you want to progress. So in secondary high school, I started banking, and I progressed. And actually, by the time I was even completing school and going to college, that is in a medical training college, back in 92. So by the time we were finishing college, in our time, we used to make choices of where you want to work. Whichever district you choose, the 3 districts that you want to work. And by that time in 1995, when I cleared my college, I had chosen, my choices were Samburu, Turkana, and Narok. Do you know why I chose that? Because I wanted to experience my freedom. I don't want to be here when other people are trying to maybe include towns near home. I wanted to be far away, so that I experience my lifestyle. And that is now the beginning of now that freedom. You have money, you know how to smoke cigarettes and bang, you know how to drink, and you have got the money and the freedom. It brings the exact good thing of making a human cabbage. So I started my journey. When people are celebrating to be having an employment immediately from school, to me, I think it was in disguise, because I started the painful journey of addiction. And the experience that I've gotten from that, I will even say this is my 28th year in the civil service as a public health officer. And 22 years have been wasted in addiction. To the point, I would like to say that during the 1995 first salary, my salary was 4,000 shillings. And I'll not even manage to finish 500 shillings with drinking in 1995. By that time, my brown bottle will cost about 15 shillings. So 500 shillings will buy about 35, 40. And I will not manage in a month, I will not drink that in 1995. Come to around 1998. I hardly got money to pay for my house. I didn't have money, because the 4,000, now I started increasing my drinking from 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. To a point where I was drinking 4,000 and left with nothing. So here now I got into another habit of now borrowing money. I became indebted. So, and this progresses to even a point of now trying to have cheeky ways of getting money, corruption. So this progression of whether it is alcoholism, because drugs have one tendency, it takes you deep into a habit that even trying to change it becomes a problem. And I believe that is why we are here to discuss about what happens and especially how you try to manage. And maybe that is only my position of my progression from maybe that moderate drinker that you are talking about, because I started with an occasional drinker during school holidays, okay? But now it becomes a habit that each and every holiday I want to go to that home whereby I know that there is something. And this happens also behind my parents who are very busy looking for school fees to manage their family. So I got lost in between the normal duties that we try, each and every person is doing his own thing and everybody is doing her own thing. And I believe that is how we are losing our children into addiction. So up to that point, maybe it is good to have a break as you continue to ask.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know it's quite sad that our generation cannot relate to the 15 shillings buying a bottle of alcohol. But what we can very much relate to, and is quite sad, is the progression in drug and substance abuse. In fact, during these times, I think it's being done in a way that is even worse compared to what you would do back then. And you've talked much about how it's going to affect you socially in your day-to-day life. But Madam Christine, is it possible that taking alcohol, to be specific, is going to affect your health, your physical health?
Thank you, Mumbi. It does. And there are so many ways alcohol affects your health. And we'll start with the physical. When you start drinking, if you can ask Edwin, you rarely remember to take food. So the alcohol part of it, you'll lose weight. There is as you continue drinking, it will start affecting the other organs of your body. So when it affects the other part of your body, there are those people who will develop the high blood pressure. There are those who will develop, we call it peripheral neuropathy. You start feeling, you have ever heard people say they have the tingling, ni kama wako na pins inawadunga, because already the nerves are affected. You have the cardiomyopathy, your heart is affected. So it will affect all the systems of your body. What about your mind? Sometimes when you say that you take the alcohol, there is the aspect that it will affect your mind. And one of the worst condition that you can develop out of taking the alcohol, we call it wenikes. It affects your memory, it affects the way you think, the way you internalize, the way you do your judgment. So your mind is already affected. What about the other part? To say my throat. You're taking this alcohol going through your throat. So there are those who will develop the cancers, either from the stomach cancers, esophagus, or they will have something that we call esophageal varices. Esophageal, it's like your veins. And I will give a very, let me say, the capillaries that we normally see. So when you continue taking your alcohol, your veins and your capillaries start dilating. There is the stimulation part of it that comes with the alcohol. So as you continue, they will continue dilating, zinaendelea swelling part of it. So when they swell, they have a tendency of bursting. Pressure imekuwa mingi. And you will hear people saying that I vomit blood. So what is happening to your body? Already the alcohol effect, it has already started taking the effects in your other part of you. Yes, you started as a social drinker, the way he was saying, but the effect is felt by every part of your body, every organ in your body, and you will have all the complications. And it's very sad to see people who will move from one drug to another, looking for that effect. They will tell you that anytime I take this, get a euphoric or a good feeling. But what about that feeling that you, after the effect, what will happen to your brain? And I will say here and now, and I will want to clarify, people think alcohol is a stimulant, but it's not. It's depressant. So what normally happens to your body, it depresses even your respiratory system in the mind. So mind yako unaanza, your breathing system is affected, the way you think is affected. So your body and the organs are already affected. So you'll only have the feeling and the effect, but by the end of the day, your body will be depressed. And that's why you will end up having the issues. This person took only like 3 drinks, but this person cannot perform. They cannot make a good judgment. It's a depressant, it's not a stimulant. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you so much for that information. We're going to be taking a very quick break here at Medicamp, and when we come back, Mr. Edwin is going to be telling us, has he experienced any of those physical effects of taking alcohol, the physical effects on your health that Madam Christine is talking about. So don't go away, stay tuned.
Welcome to the Riverine Estate Kitengela, a lifestyle development by Zamara Fanaka Retirement Fund. 4-bedroom townhouses, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. Payment terms include cash, mortgage, and a tenant purchase scheme of up to 10 years. Contact MVAL on 0716 783 783 to book your unit today.
We are putting certainty in their future so you can have a peaceful life. Exploring emerging opportunities so you can explore life. Covering your health so you can share your well-being with others. Taking care of your investments so you can enjoy the fruits of your wise decisions. With Britam, we are assured of over 55 years experience in life insurance, health insurance, general insurance, investments, and retirement solutions. Britam, with you every step of the way.
Yes, thank you so much for keeping it GTN TV, the home of gifts and talents. We are back on Medicamp, and today we are talking about something very interesting and something that is taken a toll on the entire world or in our country and everywhere. Almost everyone is abusing drugs and substances. It's either you are affected or someone close to you is abusing drugs, and it is quite dangerous. So in case you're just joining us, with me here in studio is Madam Christine and Mr. Edwin, who's been sharing with us his journey into recovery. We're talking about the physical effects of taking alcohol. And Mr. Edwin here, you've recovered from alcohol addiction. Did you get to experience any of the physical effects of taking alcohol?
Thank you so much, Mumbi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want to talk about recovery. Recovery, I haven't recovered.
Mm-hmm.
I shall continue recovering till death. Why? Because the problems that I caused myself during my active addiction, I may not recover because I wasted 22 years. Am I ever going to recover that? No. Mm-hmm. So I'm only going to try and see. You can imagine the finances that I lost. Am I going to recover? Maybe not. Okay, about my health, maybe like when I was going to the rehab in February 17th, 2017, no, 21st February 2017, I was weighing 48 kilograms. She had mentioned that when you're drinking, you don't eat. In fact, she was also mentioning about a part in the brain, Wernicke's. It is a part of the forebrain whereby it is the chamber which helps to one to make judgment. And when you're in addiction, you have your priorities right when you're sober. That when you get a salary, like for my case, I want to pay school fees, I want to pay rent, I want to pay for milk and the shop, and maybe set some money aside for transport. And then there, lastly, I want to have some little amount of money for my drink. But the moment the salary hits in, and maybe you see that message, now your priorities start changing gradually. And you still have that script that is the budget that you want. But there is an obsessive force which comes and tells you, now, why don't you just go and sit in your place whereby you are going to be feeling in your normal situation? Either you take that puff, that sniff, that drink, or that whatever drug that you have been using, so that you can evaluate clearly. Like she was saying that drugs maybe they are used to alter the mind. And for drug users, when you are out of drug, your mind becomes depressed in any situation. So for you to have a boost, you want to have that drug of choice. So you can imagine now, nimeambiwa by my colleague salary imeingia. So now I bring back my budget list afloat. Now I start actualization. Now I need to get that money so that I can pay the milk, the school fees. So far that is good. But I say I need to be in my normal state. So I need one drink. And the moment I go trigger or wake my senses, in fact, we talk about exciting the senses, or even the neurotransmitters we have got, the way they work. And when that excitement happens, things start changing. And then you start seeing the drink you can increase the budget of the drink and maybe reduce the budget of school fees. So you find that this command center that is supposed to make judgment is affected by the rise of intake of that dose of the drug. And this is where you find that what was on the top now comes upside down. So you were asking about the issue of the effects physically. I wanted to bring that part of the economic part and the issue of making judgment. So the same judgment, it is lunchtime. We all break for lunch. But for me, my priority is a drink. So the same reason I have given about my weight loss. And priorities change. You're going to find that even your priorities change. You are going to find that alcoholics or drug users do not take care of themselves physically. So maybe I was supposed to take my child for immunization. So you can imagine if I'm the household head, then that is going to fail. I may not also provide funds for my whoever the caregiver or my wife to take my child. But for me, this one happened in 1999. I lost my teeth. Actually, niko nayo ni ya kuweka. That is part of my recovery. That is why I wanted to talk about recovery. It is continuous. I lost my teeth, so part of my recovery is to replace my teeth, of which cannot happen permanently. So I'll leave to that recovery part of my dentures, because at times they need servicing, they are going to break. There are times I remove, and especially when I'm struggling to eat meat, so I might put and then I misplace. So the recovery is continuous. Actually, even this part of my ear, I was bitten. Niliumwa na mtu tukiwa kwa bar. And the reason this one happened is because I shifted from this bar, na huyo mwenye hii bar mahali tumezoeana kupeleka pesa yangu ya mwisho wa mwezi, ameona nimehama nimeenda kwa hii bar ingine. Akasikia vibaya. So people suffer so much for reasons that they cannot even express themselves. But because of my recovery, I have come to understand that it was not my mistake. I was being forced. There was a force driving me to, even when I get salary, I cannot go home. I have to go and do some audit in a bar. So that kind of culture or tendency, it is actually a circle that you have to pass through the route that you know very well. And the route I know very well is either the bar, or even if you're doing the drugs, the EO tunaitanga base, that is your secure place. And it happened that when I was going on, and maybe the tolerance levels of my drinking will change for the worst. Kuna wakati hata nilikuwa naenda kwa bar, I want to do my budget, and I have my money. At times I put here different places so that at least I should not by mistake remove more money than I have budgeted. You know, I still think when I'm taking control, the budget that I was doing when I was sober, now that I'm in my third or fourth drink, I even don't know which pocket I'm drawing money from. Either the socks, is it on the right pocket or... So even when you're going through around the sources of money pockets, you find yourself that you're the one who you have not been stolen, but you have been removing money from the different pockets. So that forgetfulness also happens and makes you fail in so many things, including you fail in your responsibilities, either paying rent or even paying school fees. I've talked about the physical part. Part of my recovery, that is about 5 years ago, I was diagnosed to be having COPD. That is compulsive obstructive pulmonary disease. This one happens because of my heavy smoking. Actually, we will pretend and we will discuss how now when I'm drinking, and especially that is during my end month, how many packets I will smoke. So there is a time when I have money, I will not buy pieces of cigarettes. I'll buy in packets. So that kind of smoking and heavy smoking or binge smoking will also affect the lungs. The other disease that maybe has affected me practically is another disease called GERD. That is the gastroesophageal reflux disease, whereby I'm not able to contain the acid in my stomach. And it happens because that valve that is supposed to close, maybe because of the exercise that most of the time I was drinking and pushing the valve down, or even during the time that I will even vomit. She mentioned about even vomiting blood because there is nothing. And even the stomach walls have been eroded. So what might come out is only some mucus and blood. So that force up and down will make that valve not to close. So there are several diseases, and maybe I thank God that I did not have a liver problem, because at least for the liver you're able to heal and maybe recover. But there are other things that happen that you might never at any one time recover, because like the trauma I caused to my children, I may never ever manage to actually help them heal. But that is why I'm still going on trying to look for some knowledge to know how to cope and even help my children and even give the warmth that I did not give when they were growing. Unfortunately, now they might be overgrown because I have one in the university, is in last semester. So I might not be in a position to give them what I denied them. So that is why I say recovery is lifetime. Because whenever I get an opportunity to maybe just love my children and show them that I'm there, I believe they're also in a position to understand. And that is why I'm always eager to even talk to other children, other parents who are also suffering. I can say even my parents suffered due to my drinking. They are both 80 plus years. And before I went to rehab, both of them will get admitted to hospital at least 2 times every year. When I got out of rehab, actually I can count my 7 years in recovery. They have only slept or gotten admitted in hospital thrice. Because it will even happen that, because I was talking about that time I was getting my salary of 4,000. And there came a time I don't have money. And yet I need to maybe continue with my drinking habit. So even when I'm drunk, people of goodwill will even put me to a motorbike and say that I be ferried home and wataenda kulipa. So all these problems and costs were going to my parents, and my whole family suffered. So that is why we talk about addiction being a family disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank
you so much for sharing that. And the consequences are quite dire. And like you mentioned that you can't even find a reason why you used to do that. And that is enough reason why we should not even abuse drugs, because I think the consequences are so costly. And thank you so much for sharing that. I want to believe that someone watching back at home or someone listening to us is finding a reason to stop. Now, Madam Christine, that was only alcohol. We have smoking. What does smoking do to our bodies?
I'll pick from where he has mentioned, Mr. Edwin, because he has mentioned one of the conditions that comes with the smoking, the COPD. That is a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease to your lungs. And most of the time when you smoke, that smoke tends to go direct to your lungs. Before I continue with the disease and what normally happens, you might be having somebody who is smoking in your house. All you have friends who smoke. And when they are enjoying their cigar, you are seated next to you. What normally happens, you become a passive smoker. So the effect they are getting to their lungs, if it is your husband, if it is your wife, if your child who is smoking and you are seated next to them. So when they smoke, you tend to smoke more. So both of you can be affected. So if you have somebody who is smoking, you'll get the same effects that the person who is smoking is getting. So that is one of the conditions. There is the part of the asthma. And the asthma it normally affects now your lungs, apart from the COPD, which is severe. If you can tell us, it's more severe than the asthmatic attack that we normally get. Because we have people who live with the asthma and they can be able to manage. But when it comes now to the COPD, it's to the extreme, meaning that your lungs already, they are damaged. There is also the effect that comes, apart from the COPD and the asthma, there is the cancer of the lungs, a killer disease. And we all know that we don't get, unless it is discovered early enough. That is the time now you can go to the chemo and radiotherapy. But remember, lungs, they are vital organ. So if you're not getting enough oxygen into your body, what is going to happen? All the other organs, including your brain, is going to be affected. So we have the lung cancer, we have the COPD, we have the asthmatic. We also can get the cancer of the esophagus or the throat. So most of the time we'll hear people who are suffering from the cancer of the throat being asked, have you ever smoked? And it comes out very clearly. They will either say, at a given time in my life, I used to smoke. What about the cancer of the lungs? They will tell you. And the majority, if you get to the statistics, most of the people who are getting the cancer of the lungs, they are men. It's more in men. The prevalence is more higher in men than the women. So these are some of the effects that you'll get. And when we talk about we are talking about now the cigar, and we should also include the weed, because we still smoke. So the effects are the same. They are cutting across the both. We can talk about the smoke, but what are the mode of getting these drugs into our body? Because that's where we should start. When we say smoking, there is the smoking, there is the inhalation. And I believe when he was explaining, he said about the pipe, which people feels like I'm not smoking the cigar, but it's more modernized because kuna ile, you're classic. So you'll get people in the clubs, you'll get people seated in a social place and they are using it. But the effects, they are the same. The worst part of it, the vibes, is the combination of the drugs they are using. So you'll get so many drugs, they are mixed in the vibe, and these people, they tend to share. I don't know what normally happens, and maybe Mr. Edwin can tell us. So if you're my friend and I'm smoking, you will tend to share. They are very generous. I would like you, Mumbi, to try this. And you're introduced, and it happens. So in a social place, somebody was not smoking, but they will live there already wakiwa wamepata ile puff yake. So maybe there is the effect they will feel the first time. So the second time they will go and try alone. So these are some of the things that we should keep away from because of the effects that will happen to our body. They are expensive to treat. And it's not only expensive to you, but you become a burden to your family and to your friends. For you to be able to manage all those conditions that you'll get out of that curiosity, out of that time that you're passing and having fun, it will cost your family dearly. So economically, the way he was saying about the effect, when you get now to the addiction part of it, it's not your part. It will become now the society problem. And that's where we are today. Yes.
And Madam Christine, maybe to just mention briefly, what other drugs are really being abused in our society today?
We'll start with the ones that are commonly known to the people. We start with the alcohol. We go to the mila, the jabba, the language they are using in the street. You're using now the weed. And let me add, because it's part of the drug, and this is happening even in our homestead, caffeine, nicotine that we are using.
Caffeine?
Yes. We are getting addicted to caffeine and nicotine. There are those people who cannot do away with caffeine. So when they wake up, they will tell you they are having a headache. And they will have to keep on looking for that caffeine. Wale wa kikombe ya chai, lazima nipate kikombe ya chai. So when we are talking about the addiction, you should classify yourself into that. There is the addiction part of it. And if you can be able to manage that also, it's good. We have the cocaine, we have the heroin, we have benzodiazepine, the drugs that are being prescribed in our facilities. And he mentioned about antihistamines. Commonly used, Piliton, celestamine. Yes, itakupatia because you are managing the allergy, but kuna ile ka effect ingine, a sedative effect that you normally get. We have the barbiturates that we normally give to the people who are epileptic, but it gives us a very nice feeling. There is some of the drugs like antidepressant. Na wenye wamezoea kutumia Raroxil, ati ili alale usiku. You become an addict. So when we are classifying these drugs, you'll get that we have so many classifications. What about the glue that is being used in the streets? They sniff. We have the paint that we normally paint in our houses. Do you know there are some people who are addicted to it? They only need to open that container and they get that nice feeling. So it's a wide range of the drugs that are out there.
Yeah, it is quite
Yes.
wide.
So we cannot be able to
finish this today.
Yes.
Maybe we're gonna do a part 2. But there is something that I really want us to cover before we wind up. What exactly is driving people into abusing drugs? You will help us with that. What are some of the things that are driving people into abusing drugs? And then maybe Mr. Edwin will share with us the way forward. What do we do?
So what drives us to get to where now we are calling the abuse of these drugs? There is the curiosity part of it. And the curiosity comes in with the peer pressure. Maybe your friends are using it and you're finding it like it's fun. So you want to discover the effect they're having. There is the ignorance part of it. And the ignorance part of it, I will pick something that Mr. Edwin said. So when he was being introduced to the Muratina, he was very ignorant. But the people who were giving, they were adults. But for him, he didn't know what he was getting himself into. And that's why he graduated to take now the brown bottles and the other drinks that he was taking. There is the stress and the depression part of it. At your workplace, there is a lot of pressure. And sometimes you feel like, if I take one drink, I'll be able to cope. And maybe the first time, you'll be able to cope. What about the second time and the third time? There is the family. And when we talk about the family, there is the genetical part of it. And Mr. Edwin is in that. We can say there is the genetical because the uncle was drinking. He got into drinking. The bad is there. There is the genetical part of it. Your family where the X factor, because there is an X factor that comes with the genes. It's there in your family. So the moment you start the first drink, the X factor is activated. And you need to keep on sustaining this X factor to continue. So there is the urge that if I get this, but it lands in the family. And you'll find many families are having issues. The grandpa was taking, the father was taking, the son is taking, even the others are taking. So there is something that lands in the family. And that needs to be brought because we don't have to continue with the family tree of where people are drunkard. There is the peer pressure that comes in, and especially with the society. You want to change the structure, the social status. So if I don't drink, people will not realize that I have money. So I want to change from the status that I'm in. And for me to fit, I have to be taking this. So if people are drinking, even if it was just a social drinking, I want to fit in this group. So there is the identity crisis that comes in. I want to be identified with this group. So for me to fit, I have to drink with them. So there are so many things. What about the marriage? Because I will mention that. There is the marriage part of it, the things, all the society, all the family issues that you're having. And sometimes you feel like your family is pushing you too hard. And the only way to cope up with this ni kunywe, wapige kelele na watanyamaza. But have you sorted out those issues? So there are issues that are coming up in our families, at our workplace, the friends that we work with, and the social class that we want to fit. For the youth, it's the curiosity and the ignorance part of it. And most of the time you'll get our youth are getting into these drugs because of the curiosity part of it. I want to feel how other people are feeling. So there are so many things we cannot be, there is the anxiety part of it. So when I develop this anxiety, how do I cope up with my anxiety? I'll get a drink, or I will puff, or I will do this. So there are so many things that push us into that, and we get ourselves, maybe we started as small, and we get ourselves that we are addicted to it. Yes.
And we have young people saying very quickly that when they take weed, they think better. they're smarter, or something like that. And also with this, is it associated with developing schizophrenia in any way?
There is the aspect that you have brought about the performance part of it. And I will pick it from where you have said they perform. This is a narrative that is happening in our society.
Especially in our campuses.
Yes. If I take this, if I smoke this, I will be able to perform well in class. Yes, it will give you the effect. And what normally happens to the moment you smoke, one of the neurotransmitters that is affected is the dopamine. So you get the pressure and you're excited. Your nerves are excited. Yes, you'll perform. Hapo. Ushafika pale. But the moment that drug and the effect goes down, you crash. So itakupatia ile yenye unataka. And let me add something that I have seen and it's circulating. You have ever seen the energy drink? Have you seen the concoction they are making? Those are the youth. Because they want to remain alert and they want to perform in class. There is a certain drink they are using. I'm not going to mention the name. And there are some other things that they're adding to this energy drink. Yes, it's giving them the effect, but it's addictive. There is the caffeine yenye wata add, and they make a concoction. So they're using a lot of things to get the effect, because from the first time they used, they got this right. But right now, there is the tolerance. They have to add more. And that's where we get now to the addiction. You started small. You need to get to the second level and the other level, and you continue. And you get now to the addiction. What you are talking about, the schizophrenia. Last time when we were talking about the schizophrenia, we said about the genetics, the biochemicals, we said the social life, and then there is the drug-induced part of it. So if you are to classify or to say the trigger factors that come with the schizophrenia, will not miss to mention about the substance use. Yes.
Thank you so much. So my director is telling us we are out of time. But Mr. Edwin, the consequences of abusing drugs, whatever the reason might be, are quite dire. So what do we do?
Thank you. In conclusion, Mumbi, I want to say that maybe what I have always believed that we ought to do is to come and reason together. Because issues of addiction cannot be fully or wholly directed by either scholars or medics. We need to have a forum whereby alcoholics can discuss, so that immediately I'm maybe taught by the medics through the media, and I am able to understand myself as an alcoholic or an addict, I'm going to communicate with my fellow addicts better than a medic will do or the media will do. So even if we have pastors and religious leaders and political leaders willing to tackle the issue of addiction, unless we sit down with the alcoholics so that we let them discuss that if me, I want to stop my drink or my drug, I would wish to go and start shoemaking activities. The other person will say that I want to do agriculture. The other one will say I want to pursue medicine. But the problem that we do things for alcohol addicts is that we plan for them when to go to the rehab. Immediately when they move from the rehab, they are going to marry, go to college, or even go enroll for a course. But the idea could be good, but the timing and the understanding of the alcoholic, there is a total disconnect. And this process should be taken carefully with a lot of maybe love, because I've said, like now I'll even try and tell you people, now I want you to be doing a show in Japan. That's a very good idea. But have I prepared how you're going to, the social network, the parents, and maybe what have you? How are you going to leave your car? Who is going to pay the rent? All these are the issues that alcoholics and addicts have. I can say, and I can speak on behalf of them, that there is no addict who does not have a desire to quit. The only problem they have is that they are not sure if they cross over, are they going to make it? And if they fail, these people who have come for them to rescue them, are they going to understand that there is a compulsive force that is driving them? So I believe it is doable, because actually my journey in sobriety has come because of maybe networking with other alcoholics. Actually, we have started several AA forums in Nyeri. We have 2. We have one in Mount Kenya every Saturday at 11 at ACK. We also started one in Karatina at the Catholic Church, and we had one at the Town Health Center. But they have failed because maybe we don't have people who are coming to embrace this issue of having those meetings of alcoholics. But I believe it is doable. Then we also have to stop. Whether you're in whatever position of leadership, whether you're a parent, whether you are a role model, let us stop advertising drugs. Because the moment we have a party at home, that little kid will remember, when we had a party, I saw my auntie or my uncle come with a Porsche car, came with gifts, and after the party or even the church service, there was something thereafter. And these children will always have a desire to do the same that we have taught them. So we should know that we are role models and walk to the desire of what we want our children to learn. Because this problem that we can see here, it is our creation. So let us take the problem, let us discuss, and let us strategically address this issue. So I always say that maybe let us, the leadership of drugs be led by people who have been through that, and it will be best understood. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is doable. What we have to do is you do your role, I do my role, and the other person do their role. That we all have a part to play in dealing with this menace. Thank you so much for tuning in to Medicamp. My name is Mumbi Mavuti. Until next Tuesday, keep it GTN TV, and remember that your health is your wealth.
Welcome to Lulu Plains, the epitome of secure and luxurious living in Isinya. Nestled along the Isinya-Kiserian, also known as Pipeline Road, this gated community offers 50 by 100 plots designed for your dream home. Developed by Zamara Fanaka Retirement Fund, Lulu Plains boasts a